Okay, so when we look at motivating factors, what motivating factors are a deep felt feeling, a desire, a passion. But motivating factors to want to take action is that desire in your gut, but only when the actual state sufficiently deviates from the desired state. So you've got the actual state, the actual situation, and you've got the desired situation. And when the actual state sufficiently deviates from the desired state, where the gap is too long and you can take it no more, then you take action. You're motivated to go and do what you need to do because of the situation. Okay? So we've looked at mindset and we've looked at the different motivation factors, and we can see, but in the mindset and motivation, the mindset, Descartes, as I said before, was the first philosopher who supposedly said, I think, therefore I am, and Descartes meant it in the way that I think, therefore I must exist. Whereas some people say that Socrates said it before, I think, therefore I am, how I think is how I behave and how I act. Therefore, if I'm a peaceful person, I behave peaceful. If I'm an aggressive person, I react aggressively. So in the same way, I think, therefore I am. This is very similar to the mindset, a growth mindset, looking for opportunities, developing, looking at learning, looking at taking on new skills, a growth mindset of an entrepreneur. In the same way, this develops that mindset to growing and looking and learning, and that itself helps people be motivated to look for the opportunity or look for the necessity to meet that motivating entrepreneurial type trait. So the next thing we need to look at now is what? We need to look at the entrepreneurial type personality, or how personality is developed, because personality itself leads to the attitudes, beliefs, and then intentions. Again, comes back down to a person's mind. So personality is developed by a range of different factors. Personality is developed by personal factors in terms of personal traits, demographic factors, demographic backgrounds, values and beliefs, as well as contextual factors, including the social, economic factors, political, cultural and technological factors. These shape people's way of thinking. This leads into entrepreneurial perception, how you perceive things. So how you look at things is shaped by your experiences in life, by your own family, by your friends you've mixed with, and by your own political environment that you've experienced. I knew a young lady who came from Colombia, and as a child she worked in the drug trade, where they employed them at a young age to pack all the drugs and everything else, and she saw people being killed and shot, and that was part of the culture. She grew up with that, so it wasn't surprising to her, that level of violence, because she grew up with it. And so you kind of shapes your culture in terms of what shocks you and what doesn't shock you. In terms of demographic backgrounds, in terms of your values and beliefs, shapes you. If you're a Muslim and you've grown up into a Muslim family where they say do not eat pork because of the religion and beliefs, then when you grow up as an adult, you will not eat, predominantly in the main, you will not eat pork if you're still Muslim. And this develops and influences and your personality. And then in terms of entrepreneurial intention, this is going to be affected by moderating factors, personal moderating factors, like does the person have the skill? And also contextual moderating factors like resources available and is it the right time, which influences the entrepreneurial intention. And intention, I would say, even though it says intention here, I would say influences the entrepreneurial attitudes, beliefs, and then intentions. And then those intentions lead the entrepreneur to take action. So let's look at this in relation to the next part of the question, which is how is entrepreneurial personality reflected in entrepreneurial motivation and mindset? Let's take the example of Jack Cohen, which is the case study in Tesco's, and look at the mindset of Jack Cohen and look at the motivation of Jack Cohen. Well, what was the mindset of Jack Cohen? Was it a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, would you think? A growth mindset. a growth mindset because he was always learning. He had been in his parents' business, tailoring business. He had been in other businesses. He had been in the Air Force as a RAF fighter pilot. So quite senior technical positions of learning and developing. So he was in a growth mindset and he could learn different things. And he didn't have a closed mind. He had an open mind. Okay. What about his motivation? What were his motivating factors? So if we look at motivation, would you say Jack Cohen's motivation was opportunity driven, or was it necessity driven, or was it a combination of the two? Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. I believe at the time Jack Cohen's entrepreneurship was based on opportunity and necessity. Opportunity because he saw the end of the First World War, and in 1919 he had saved up all his money. But we'll see how that's reflected in a second in terms of personality. In terms of necessity at all. Now the war's finished. He's no longer he's no longer a fighter pilot because Britain doesn't need any more fighter pilots. So now out of necessity, how is he going to survive for the future? How is he going to have his own family? How is he going to support his own family? So partly because of opportunity, he sees an opportunity. And he has that desire in him because he's seen the opportunity, and then partly because of necessity. That's a potent combination, necessity and opportunity. You've got no choice, you've got to do it, you've got a family, an opportunity, well, I've just seen an opportunity. But how is that reflected in the personality? Well, let's look at the personality. Let's go back to Jack Cohen's personality. Values and beliefs, hard-working, Jewish background. In terms of contextual factors, economically, they don't just spend all their money. They're not going to go out trying to, spend all their money during the war. He saved all his money, and all that money he saved, he used later. We'll see. This shaped the personal and contextual factors, shaped his personality. Hardworking, saving, and he also saw his own parents in their own business, and he grew up with that. So you're thinking now, my parents have had their own business, I may want to set up my own business myself. So that has influenced him as well in terms of a desire to want to open up his own business, which develops the personality. Then let's look at the moderating personal factors and the moderating contextual factors. The moderating personal factors we can see, which links into attitudes, beliefs and intentions later on to take action. We can see that timing was right. The contextual factors, timing was right. The First World War had finished. The army had now got all their resources left over, food, and there's no point in them keeping it because all the soldiers are coming home, so they have to sell it to recuperate something, and they've got to sell it quick because food is perishable. He had the resources, contextual factors, and also he had the skill, hard working, that skill and that background, that work, and starting a business. He saw his parents do it. He was part of that. So now this is a direct reflection because all these factors are reflected in his mind in terms of his intentions to want to be, in terms of his motivation, intentions in terms of opportunity. He saw the opportunity. Intentions in terms of necessity because he now needed to get another job. Yeah, so we can see that in terms of, and also reflection in terms of his mindset, because he had an open mind. He knew he had to do something now. He was learning new stuff, doing new stuff, and he saw that opportunity, and this is reflected in his personality. So we can see that his personality way of thinking is a direct reflection of the motivation and mindset. Yes? Which leads into the entrepreneurial action. Okay, so how do we think about it? What do we think about it? Do you think you can answer that question? Yes? So the first thing you need to be talking about is the entrepreneurial mindset, then talk about entrepreneurial type motivation, different types, some stats and some figures. Then you need to break down entrepreneurial personality. And then finally, to complete the question, you need to be discussing how entrepreneurial personality reflects the motivation and mindset. Okay, make sense?
Yes.
Thank you. Today from Mr. Tan.